Well, tensions over the war broke out at a meeting of Black Sea nations earlier in Turkey. Have a look at this. A Russian delegate tore down the Ukrainian flag, and on the back of that, Ukrainian delegate punched him. On social media, the Ukrainian lawmaker wrote, "Paws off our flag, paws off Ukraine," and, well, some words that I'm not going to repeat here. Earlier, scuffles broke out when Ukrainians tried to shout over a Russian speaker. Are Russia and US relations, quote, on the verge of an open armed conflict? Yes, according to Russia's deputy foreign minister, as reported by the country's state media at least. Sergei Ryabkov accused the US of being, quote, a direct party to the Ukrainian conflict. But he qualified what were these ominous comments, saying that Moscow is working to make sure an armed conflict with Washington doesn't happen. Let's find out what the US is saying about this. CNN's Oren Lieberman is at the Pentagon. What's been the US response? Oren?
Well, this is the sort of statement from Russia and from the Kremlin that fits into Russia's narrative of the U.S. being part of the war in Ukraine, an accusation Russia has repeatedly made. In fact, with that drone explosion we saw over the Kremlin just several days ago, it was the Kremlin saying that the U.S. dictated to Ukraine to carry out such an attack. So this fits into that narrative. More importantly, we have seen statements like this, hyperbolic statements about how bad relations are, from Russia before. In fact, several years ago while I was reporting in Moscow, Russia came out and said that relations between the U.S. and Russia, between Washington and Moscow, were the worst they've ever been. Clearly, we have seen them get far worse in the last several years, especially the last several months. But it also fits into Russia's narrative that Russia is the one trying to uphold international law and justice throughout the world, and it's the U.S. that's the one that's endangering this. So from Russia's perspective, this neatly fits into their narrative about how it's Russia trying to uphold the global order and the U.S. threatening it. I haven't seen a response specifically to this from the U.S., but the U.S. likely to point out in response that it's Russia that invaded Ukraine and Russia that's threatening the world order that's been sustained ever since pretty much the end of World War II. So in this accusation from Russia that the U.S. and Russia are close to armed conflict, again, you see the narrative that Russia is trying to put out there, blaming the U.S. for the war in Ukraine, blaming the U.S. for being involved in and a direct party to that war, and Russia painting itself as the one trying to fix the global order and fix the situation.
Oren Lieberman's at the Pentagon for you folks. Thank you. Well, we're also seeing signs of deepening cracks in Russia's war machine. The head of what is the private military group, Wagner, issuing a stunning rebuke today, a public rebuke against Vladimir Putin's military. He posted a grim video showing the bodies of fighters who he says died because they are not getting the ammunition that they need to fight. And we've got to warn you, although this clip is blurred, its content is disturbing.
These men here who died today are Wagner PMC. Their blood is still fresh. Film all of them.
Well, the head of Wagner also drawing a line in the sand, announcing that he will pull his forces out of Bakhmut in Ukraine next week. Now, the Ukrainian military is calling this a possible turning point in what is that brutal battle in eastern Ukraine. That battle, of course, has been raging for months, producing heavy casualties with little progress for either side.